Hey friends, it's Jen. Thanks for joining me for another Good God Talks episode. The whole reason we do this podcast is to help you connect through uncommon conversations with God in everyday moments of your daily life. And we have a ton of resources that help you do that too. So check out the links here in the show notes, one of which is the Captivated Playbook. And so if you have ever felt bored, confused, or uninterested in reading the Bible, even though you know you should, get ready to experience and enjoy reading the Bible in a new way. The Captivated Playbook shows you how, and it's something that has transformed my approach to Scripture. And so I'm excited to share it with you. And let's jump into today's episode. Hey friends, it's Jen. Let me ask you, when is the last time you felt truly focused? Between phone notifications and family needs and work demands and the general noise of life, concentration can kind of feel like a lost art. I know this struggle. I'll sit down with my Bible or a good book or my computer to get some focused writing done. And within minutes, my mind is bouncing between laundry and tomorrow's meeting and that weird thing I said 3 years ago. Today, we're focusing on finding focus, and we're continuing our conversation about Richard Foster's book, The Celebration of Discipline, in which he says, we live in a culture that does not value concentration. Distraction is the order of the day. And I even think about this in terms of multitasking, which I still kind of think I can do, but from what I understand is actually not even a real thing. We're just bouncing our focus very quickly between multiple things in a short amount of time. But what's interesting here is that Richard Foster wrote his book, the first version, and that quote back in the 1970s, so before smartphones and social media or Netflix. And if distraction was already the order of the day back then, I wonder what he would say about today. The discipline of study, and not just studying the written Bible, but study in general, requires concentration. It's the ability to focus our attention deliberately on something worthy of our mental energy, which, as we talked about in the last episode, sometimes we can all let our brains spiral on things that are not worth that energy. But when it comes to intentional concentration, that's something we can develop with practice, which is good news. We don't have to be born with it. In Isaiah 26:3, it says, you will keep in perfect peace those whose mind is stayed on you because they trust you. Peace comes when our minds are anchored rather than scattered, and not just anchored on anything, but on God because we trust Him. And so the encouragement that I want to share with you today is that concentration isn't something you have or you don't have. It's something you can grow in little by little, and God is patient with us in the learning process. And so a few practical steps to help us grow in concentration include starting small. A few minutes of focused attention is better than an hour of distracted effort. Be kind to yourself when your mind wanders. Notice the wandering and gently redirect your attention back to what you're studying, to what you're focusing on. Remember that this is not just about willpower, it's also about grace. You can ask God to help you focus your mind on what matters most. Something that's helpful for me is literally keeping a physical notebook nearby. I've tried it with my phone. I get pulled into social media and different alerts. Not helpful. But it could even be a piece of paper so that when to-do lists or distractions pop up into my mind, I can simply write them down and refer back to them at a later time and stay focused on what's at hand. And the beautiful thing about growing in concentration is that it doesn't just make us better Bible readers. It actually transforms how we engage in many different areas of our lives because we can be more present with our children or our spouses or friends, and we can be more aware of God's presence there with us in even ordinary moments. And so here's a question to take to God today on this topic. God, what obstacles to concentration do I face? And how can I work with you to develop a more focused mind? Have a good talk.